coming up on The Source.
This is ridiculous. This is really ridiculous. $5,000. I thought you said 500,000.
No, 5,000.
27 units. Families are displaced. He disrupts the community, and all he has to pay was $5,000. And I heard he even tried to appeal that.
Yep.
That's crazy. This is Dr. Curry.
This is Coby Owens.
Shané Darby.
And welcome to The Source. What a great week we've had. There are so many things that have happened, and we really got a special report today, so I want to get right to the things that we need to get with. Now, there was a shooting this week on Wednesday near Bancroft Elementary School. Do we have any updates on what's going on? Because when you start shooting near our elementary schools, it's frightening. And I heard they had to do some evacuations, but any updates on that?
With the school shooting?
Yes.
So what I'm reading here is they were by Bancroft. It was about 21 cases down the street from the Montessori school. But other than that, no updates from Wednesday than what we have.
Well, have you heard anything on that?
No, I haven't heard anything. But it's just sad that the shooting actually took place around dismissal time, right?
Yeah.
Kids are getting out. Kids are out there. I think it was reported, around 3 o'clock,
right.
The shooting took place.
Yeah, and the problem is, without there being a control of what's happening in our streets, it's very sad and scary.
It's a full-blown shootout.
Yeah, but that's what I had heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what do? We just report it and then move on. At some point, we have to figure out what is going on that's causing the gun violence to the level that is constantly having. But, some people will say, well, there was no death, so we got away with that.
So why there was no death, it still was a 34-year-old who was injured in the shooting, right? And then, again, these guys who were out there shooting, the residents said it was an automatic weapon. Most of these guys...
Automatic weapon, yeah.
They don't know how to shoot. So those bullets could have hit anyone, especially our young kids there. It's so sad. I'm glad that the 34-year-old, he's in critical, but he is still alive. Mm-hmm. So I'm glad that he is still alive, but this has to stop.
Yeah. I didn't know about it. I didn't know that it was automatic weapon. I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think gun reform for specifically our type of gun violence needs to happen, because I think the gun violence reform that has happened is for mass shootings. Mm-hmm. Listen, if you think implementing harder laws is going to say, hey, make men on the street say, hey, I'm not going to go get a gun anymore, right? That's not going to address our issues in our city by putting more restrictions on weapons. It's only to give them higher, probably, sentences and different things like that. But if they want the weapons, they're going to get the weapons. How is an automatic firearm getting in the city of Wilmington? Think about that.
Yeah.
How does someone have access to that type of weapon?
Mm-hmm. Well, it has to have been being brought in and placed in so that we can kill ourselves. We really need to be very mindful of those who are distributing those guns, and there will be some laws on that. If you're found giving weapons to people, there needs to be a penalty that's beyond measure as well. Last thing I want to do in this segment is I do want to talk about this article that was in the news break that dealt with criminalizing homelessness. A woman was begging for food downtown in the city of Wilmington, and she was reportedly mentally ill, and she wasn't creating any havoc or anything, but she was begging for food, and the restaurant staff called the police, and she served a year in jail.
Yeah, the problem for me is that the police were called for a person not committing a crime, but for being homeless and having mental health issues.
Right.
You call the police. And this is the prime reason why I'm asking for the police, Wilmington administration and the police department to please work with city council to have an assessment done to develop a community response team. Because if we had a community response team to respond to someone like that and all the other people that are in this woman's situation, she would have never did a year in jail.
Yeah.
She would have been able to get services if she wanted services, right? We wouldn't be able to track her, case manage her, right? Those type of things. Wilmington Police Department is not trained to do that.
And she spent a whole year in jail.
Yeah, I know people who did worse and been in jail less.
But if it wasn't a criminal act that she performed, why a year in jail? Did she get left there, lost there? What happened? I'm asking y'all questions that maybe you can't answer. But I'm concerned that a year of her life have been taken from her. Is she going to be compensated for that?
You know she not.
Oh, I do? Okay.
We know they are not compensating. And actually what needs to happen is usually when someone is wrongfully incarcerated and they come home, it's taken out of taxpayers' money. They need to deduct it from the police department's budget or from their pensions. Oh, yeah. And then we won't have problems like this where people are having issues like this, being incarcerated for a year for being homeless. And having mental health issues. It's unacceptable. And the crazy part is they said she was released when they arrested her at first. When she was called, they released her the same day. But then they saw her walking along Market Street, and they said that was a violation of her probation. Oh, wow. So then that's when she was incarcerated for a year, because they said she violated her probation. Well,
if she's homeless, how can
you
she?
know,
I'm just really concerned.
Because they don't want them in the city. Go walk around. Go somewhere else and walk around. Go somewhere else and be homeless, but not downtown and not the riverfront.
I refuse to believe that could be true.
This is nothing new under this administration. They've been using no contact orders to get people from being on the street in downtown. Back in 2018, this issue came up where almost 6 people had no contact orders put against them in a 40-block radius of downtown Wilmington. People who were panhandling. They're aggressively going after individuals who do panhandle and quote-unquote lauder, right? It's funny, everyone else can stand around downtown, but when someone that looks like us stands around, then it's laudering, then it's an issue. This is, like I said, it is nothing new. It's outrageous. And I know that they've used this against teens. They've used this against homeless people. And again, what happened to this lady is extremely disappointing. But I feel as though there's probably more like her somewhere in the system.
More. It has to be more. And they said she was in prison more than 10 times longer than the maximum sentence for the original charges tied to begging in the restaurant. 10 times.
Wow. And because she doesn't have any money, she can't get a lawyer. She cannot get.
She's still supposed to get a public defender. She has an attorney. I don't know
how she paying for it, but she got
one. We could tell y'all are we could tell that y'all are elitist people, because if you deal with the public defender's office, I mean, what will they do other than meet you at the courthouse the day of your event and say what happened again?
No, she in here she has a woman. This woman's attorney, Elizabeth Jackin. Something like that. So she had, I don't know how she's affording this attorney or if it's a public defender or not.
Well, I'm glad that she has someone, but I'm stuck on a year, 10 times the max of what the original crime would have been. And she's not being treated for her mental illness to the level that they need to be treating her. But yet she cannot go downtown and beg for something to eat. It's only a human right for people to eat. And that's one of the problems that I'm running into, is that people want something to eat and we won't provide it, but we'll put them in jail. That's not the way America rolls. That's not the way this city should be running. We need to make sure we take care of those who, and a lot of times it is connected to mental health. It is connected to that. Sometimes you'd be surprised if you give them the mental health they need. And that's why you're arguing and you're crying for response teams as opposed to just being the police, because this is just not good. I don't know. We're going to leave it there and just say, I hope somebody who's listening will be able to come up with some kind of proposal to give to the city to basically say, this is how we can handle our homeless, those who are mentally ill. I just wish we can do that. So I'm going to leave it there for today. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we're going to come right back.
8 a.m. every Sunday for our worship services. Join us at 9 a.m. on YouTube and Facebook Live by typing E Zion Fair Baptist Church. We are Wilmington's most exciting church.
And we're back. Well, we get ready to get started with this Shané Scoop. What's going on this week?
Yes, I kind of wanted to give an update on Adams Street. So we know, about a year and a half ago in May of 2022, there were a whole units from the 800 block of Adams Street that were condemned due to unlivable conditions, right? So most recently, the landlord, so this landlord agrees to pay fines, finally, a year and a half later. And he has until October 28th to fix these homes. They gave him $5,000 fine for failing to make timely repairs to the homes, right? It's been a year and a half, and they're just now fining him. And then for 27 units, it's only $5,000, right? So this is the problem I have, is like the city's lack of accountability for these big property owners or for certain property owners, but for everybody else, they'll nail the hammer down, don't give breaks. They talk about not giving discounts, not helping people, and people should pay what they need to pay, right? So he had over 20 civil penalties that were issued for him in those 27 units that were condemned over a year and a half ago. And this is where we are today. Like, what are we doing?
So you said $500,000 fine.
5,000. No, 5,000.
27 units, which means 27 families were dislocated. And they were treated as if it didn't matter. They had to leave out, move out. You had all the officials around. And his fine was $5,000.
Yep. And when it happened, he was given 30 days to fix it. So now it's been way more than 30 days times 18 months, right? That's how many days it's been out. And they're just now fining him at only $5,000. And he's agreed to like weekly inspections with L&I. And they said if he doesn't fix it in 45 days, they'll just give him more fees and fines.
I just want to add to that, that when Adams Street first happened, right? When those people were being evicted, it was 2 days after he had collected rent on most of the units. So if you break down the average rent over there of $950, right, of the unit, times 27, that is $25,000, $650, right? And you only get a $5,000 fine?
Wow.
And yet, most of these people who lived in these units still have not been able to get their money back.
Right.
The city has not helped them in that process whatsoever. And a lot of them didn't want to go through the legal process because they would be paying out more in legal fees than they would be getting back. Wow. A lot of these people have been displaced still. I think there's one family left in the Hope Center, and it's been over a year.
You see how they treat the poor? I want to look at the camera and say that. When you have no funds and resources, look at how you're treated. Just live. Just do. We do what we want to do. We handle you any way we want to handle you. This is ridiculous. This is really ridiculous. $5,000. I thought you said $500,000.
No, 5,000.
27 units. Families are displaced. He disrupts the community, and all he has to pay was $5,000. And I heard he even tried to appeal that.
Yep.
Oh, that's crazy. Go ahead. No sense getting angry now.
Yes, none. But there is work being done, hopefully, on the community level. I know there's a tenant union to start talking about protections for tenants' rights. I know on the state level, there's legislation being worked on to try to protect tenants who are in situations like this. So hopefully we can get somewhere with it in the next legislative session, because some of that legislation hasn't passed yet, right? Or gotten the support that we need. So hopefully that changes. But on a higher note, this past week, there was 2, maybe 3 celebrations that I'm really excited for, right? One, which is new, is Black Restaurant Week, right? So it's from September 17th to the 24th. And on the City of Wilmington's website, you can get a list of, I think it's like 20-something Black-owned food trucks and restaurants throughout the City of Wilmington. So they have all the participating restaurants. They have like this passport little brochure thing, and you get like take a picture and a stamp or something, and you get it on there. If you get enough, you can get a gift card for $25 for going that week to Black restaurants and supporting the Black restaurants.
Now, it's sponsored by the City of Wilmington.
Yes. So President Trippy Congo, Ernest Congo, this was his idea, his vision, something that he wanted to do for the city to highlight Black restaurants and give them the support. What I really like that they did is that they coupled it with 2 things, right? The Soul of the City, which is presented by Christian and Cultural Arts Centers and co-hosted by the Grand Opera House. It's like this downtown block party, right? And they had a lot of just celebrating the uniqueness of Wilmington's arts and different organizations while highlighting the 50th anniversary of hip hop, right? So they were able to do that. So that was the pre-event, and then Black Restaurant Week happened. And then also it's HBCU week, right? So I love HBCU week. I am not, for disclosure, I did not graduate from an HBCU.
We know, Temple University.
Right, so I went to Temple University. I wanted to go to an HBCU, but the cards didn't fall that way for me.
They don't give out the money that Temple gives out.
Yeah, that, and it was closer for me, right? I was able to hop on the R2, and I got pregnant in high school, so I couldn't go far. So that R2 helped me out to get to Temple University my first year, being pregnant and a new mom. But I am in support of HBCUs, the work and what they produce in the community, and I hope that one of my kids go to a HBCU so I could be like super proud and happy, that somebody in the house went to a HBCU. But they had like a concert. They're going to have a comedy show. They had a few events. They had Ben Crump coming, I think, but it got canceled because he had a court hearing. I guess he got called
in court.
So it's like a few different events happening this week. So it's all at Wilmington HBCU Week 2023. If you just Google that, the website should come up. They're having college tours. They're giving out scholarships, having conversations about social justice, the Battle of the Bands, a block party.
They're bringing back the Battles of the Band.
Yeah, the Battles of the Band. Yeah, so I'm excited for that. They have DSU. I'm trying to see what's colleges. Lincoln University, Virginia State, and then WSSU.
WSSU.
Winston-Salem
State
University. Okay, yeah. So they have those 4 who will be there, and my kids have their future HBCU shirts, and they'll have that. So we'll be at the Battle of the Bands for them to witness that. So I'm excited for it. I love this. It's like a celebration, tradition of like really honoring like just Black culture, Blackness. Wilmington's predominantly, we're going to keep it a Black city, and honoring that. And like we have some really good things. Like some bad things are happening here, some negative things, but we have some really good things to highlight about our city. And this is it. And I think adding Black Restaurant Week, I think a lot of people out of town are coming for HBCU Week. So having Black Restaurant Week is also highlighting those Black restaurants in our city, which I thought was like, oh, that's a good idea to have them together. So yeah.
I want to give a shout out to Ashley Christopher for doing an amazing job with this. And growing it every year, especially with the middle school college tour as well too, getting them involved and thinking about the HBCUs earlier, and also taking it to Atlanta this year. So I actually have a family member who's up here who her workplace is partnering with them, but they sent her up here to see how the experience is. So she went to the concert the other night, Monica and Fabulous. I heard Monica did amazing.
Yes, she did. Okay. Yes, she did. I don't know about Fab.
But again, I was really looking forward to the discussion with Ben Crump, but also my favorite event of the week is the Battle of the Bands.
I'm sure.
So again, it's just an amazing time to celebrate Black people coming together.
Yeah, and I too will give Christopher a shout out. She's a graduate of Howard University, did very well there, and that vision of bringing that to Wilmington is remarkable. And I hope and trust that you all enjoy it. Those of us who did go to HBCUs know the hardships of going to one and the limited sources, and that's one of the reasons why I hope they get a chance to celebrate Tony Allen, because Tony Allen really brought some respect to HBCUs after Biden had gotten in and made him in charge of that Council of Presidents. All right. Anything else for you today?
Yeah, just the last thing I want to kind of talk about is a new organization that's in Delaware. It's called Black Men Build.
Okay.
So they had reached out. I had went to a national Black conference, and I was talking about Black Mothers in Power, the work I was doing here in the city of Wilmington. And the guy who runs the national Black Men Build reached out to me and was like, how do I get into Wilmington? And I'm like, you can use my space, do what you need. I connected him to some Black men I knew from this Wilmington area. And they have been doing healing circles twice a month, right? So Black men are getting together from this particular neighborhood or area to talk about, I guess, I'm not there, I'm not present, but what it means to be a Black man. Right?
Oh, wow.
And I think those conversations are important because when we talk about gun violence, when we talk about all of the things plaguing our communities, I think we need strong leaders. We need Black men to get together to have those conversations, to do a lot of healing, talk about trauma, how they can support each other so that then we can come together, right? So once the healing is done here, everyone can come together. So they meet every, I don't even know, let me look here. But they meet every, I think, what day was it? I think it was on Monday or Tuesday. So I think they meet every third Monday of the month at the Black Mother and Power Center. And it's just no women are present, and they're building a community. And eventually,
what you should do is try to get him to see if he can come on the show and do an interview, because I think that is very powerful given the fact that some of the stuff that we are doing right now. So if you can get him to come on the show and you can interview him, that would be remarkable, because that's one of the elements we need to help with even curbing some of this violence in our Black communities. I agree.
And then soon they'll be talking about programming and what they can do to really make impact specifically here in the city. So
yeah, and also even on the Coffee with Curry show, I would love to bring him in and talk about that, because that's important for where we are. All right.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Oh, that's all you got? We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
New guests. New conversations. New stories. Every Sunday at 11 a.m. Grab your cup of coffee and tune in with Dr. Curry for weekly episodes of Coffee with Curry.
And we're back. Well, Coby, what's going on with the Coby Corner today?
Yeah, so first I want to talk about the West End Neighborhood House. Being on the board at the PAL, we get to deal with a lot of other community centers, get to hear about their different programming. So I want to give them a shout out. They recently received a grant from Newcastle County to expand their Launchers Entrepreneur Program. That program is it meets twice a year, 2 cohorts a year. It's a 12-week entrepreneurship training program, and it offers classes all across the state. So it launched in 2017. It has trained over 790 individuals in entrepreneurs, and helped it start or expand a little over 250 businesses here in the state, creating hundreds of jobs as well too. A good friend of mine who is doing amazing work over the West Side, Ellen Kapar, she was a 2020 graduate of this program. Everyone stop in. It's a Black-owned bookstore called Books and Bagel, and she's doing amazing work over there. So again, Newcastle County, I believe it was a $300,000 check that they gave to them to expand this opportunity for individuals.
Great.
Next, I want to talk about starting tomorrow, Monday, the 25th. You will be able to go back online to covidtest.gov, to the portal, to start ordering free COVID tests to your
Please
homes.
do it.
Numbers are really getting high again. So again, please start testing. The tests are completely free, and I believe it's up to 4 per household that you can order at a time.
And before you run off of that, and please, for those of you who are watching us today, if you can, a lot of people are against these vaccinations, but get the shot, because we don't want people sick and we don't want people dead. please do what you have to do. And when I get mine next, I think it's a couple of weeks from now, I'm scheduled to get mine. I'm going to definitely make sure I record that. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Coby.
Yeah. The new COVID vaccine is actually coming out pretty soon.
Yes.
They're going to open it up very similar to how they did the other versions of age-based first and health need first, and then open it up to everyone else. But till then, make sure you are still testing, especially if you're around people, especially if you're around family. I know it's almost that time, Thanksgiving and the holiday time. So please stay.
Your favorite time of the year.
Absolutely. Please stay aware of if you are in contact with people. Next, I want to talk about an event that we're hosting at the POW. We realized a lot of teenagers weren't able to participate in sports last year. So we are hosting a free physical for teenagers 13 to 18. You have to have a physical on hand in order to participate in any sports, but also just be active in the school. I think you all have to have physicals now. Yeah. So if you know any teenagers, 13 to 18, we are partnering with 3 amazing doctors. Dr. Sydney Till, Dr. Velma Scanaberry, and Dr. Joan Coker, 3 Black women who have their own practice now to put this event on. So please feel free to bring your teenagers out. Again, it's free of charge, and we will have all the paperwork there for you. We'll put a graphic up on the screen with the dates and everything like that. That is September 30th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Walk-ins are accepted, but if you do have a teenager, the parent has to be there to sign consent forms, just like a regular doctor visit. And again, it's free to you. Next, I want to talk about, this is Literacy Month. And I just want to highlight the work that's been done at the Wilmington Library. They have an amazing speaker series going on there right now. They're bringing activists here. They're bringing judges, politicians, and Black authors from all over. So again, if you get a chance, stop by the Wilmington Library, stop by the North Wilmington Library as well too. On October the 6th, that Friday, there will be a block party to celebrate the new Wilmington Library in the expansion site as well too, hosted by Senator Darius Brown. So feel free to stop out. The Wilmington Library is doing amazing work. Shout out to Jamar and Carl and the whole team over there. And the one next point I want to talk about is currently right now there is still no plan forward to stop a government shutdown come September 30th. Sides have been working, but they have not been able to come up with an agreeable plan. It seems as though Matt Gaetz and the more ultra-conservative Republicans in the House, they really want to see cuts to Ukraine. They want to see cuts to some of the spending levels that we currently have in the federal government. And again, a shutdown has an impact not just on federal employees, right? It has an impact on our military and also our veterans, right? Who are waiting for their pension checks to come in, that they depend on that as well too. So it's so critical to make sure that they're not going to pass a budget, but to pass a continuing resolution, a CR, so that we do not shut down come October 1st at midnight.
Yeah, well, I think that's the problem that I'm running into, is that they won't tie their salaries to this stuff. And that's why they can loosely do what they do. Matt Gaetz is just finding something to be opposite of. And I think that the government, those who serve us in the military, those who work for the government, we need to, first of all, they're not paying them any money for real. We need to make sure they're always secured. And for them not to have that, that's just disgraceful. And it's going to be, I think you make this, I don't know whether you believe, I believe it's going to be a shutdown because they can't agree to anything.
As of right now, I don't see a path forward. I think they may try to hit a midnight deal or something to keep it going for another week to give them time. But as of right now, there is no agreeable points right now, especially either within the House Republican caucus, either if they do come up with something and they can pass something, the Senate Republicans aren't even on board with it, and the Democrats hold the majority there. So it's still going to be back and forth. But yeah, so we'll see what happens in the going forward. But again, it's going to be a definitely a battle.
Okay. Yeah. Well, was it all your points for today?
The last point I'm going to talk about is universal meals for students in school.
But before you go there, what we're going to do is, because you're doing a special report
Right.
with Senator Tizzy Lockman as well as Representative Ray Moore, it's probably best that we'll give them an opportunity.
Right.
But how was that? How was your time with them?
So it was an amazing time with them. We got to discuss in depth what the bill does, why the idea came forth, and where they're doing this at other places. But I just want to highlight on October 3rd, there is a town hall at Banner Elementary over West Side. Please come out to it. They're looking for educators, parents, teachers, whatever, especially students as well too, to come out and give their input on what they believe is needed.
So the conversation you had with Representative Moore and Senator,
It was a fun conversation.
So y'all were able to discuss the whole details and
Absolutely.
and different interactions of it. Well, that's going to be great. I'm looking forward to seeing that. So I want you to stay tuned as we go to that special report that was done by our own brother. Just your name slipped right out of my head, Coby. That means I'm 50. I'm going to ask that you just stay tuned for this special report that he did, and I really think that you will get a great opportunity to understand it to the fullness as it relates to universal meal and the town hall that is going to be coming. We'll be right back.
With COVID-19 contributing to more sickness and death across our nation, America's physicians have 3 simple steps you can take to stop the spread. First, wash your hands. Second, stay at least 6 feet from others. And third, mask up. Physicians across our country urge you to follow these science and evidence-based steps to protect you and your loved ones. With science, we will defeat COVID-19 together.
Hello and welcome to The Source. My name is Coby Owens and we have a special edition coming to you today. Today I have 2 special guests. I have Senator Tizzy Lockman from the 3rd District here in the city of Wilmington. And then we have our friend from a little downstate from Middletown, Representative Ray Moore from the 8th District down in Middletown. But we are here today to talk about something that I believe is so important to the community. We've seen during COVID how important it was to make sure students were getting the proper nutrition so that they could learn in school. And I am super excited to tell you about a bill today, HB 125, introduced by Representative Moore and Senate Prime sponsor.
Correct. I'm Senate Prime.
Senator Lockman, that will have a universal free lunch program, free meal program, because it also includes breakfast, here in the state of Delaware. So let's start and jump right into it. First off, can you tell us a little bit about the bill?
Yes. So HB 125, if you don't know, I am an educator. This will be my 6th year teaching. And one thing I know is that if you don't feed kids and they don't have the proper nutrition, you can't do anything. So this is definitely driven by my passion of educating students. So universal free breakfast and lunch is a critical need for students across the country. As you stated earlier, we did it through COVID through government funding. A lot of schools were able to feed kids for free. In this last school year, we saw that everyone had to start paying in some areas. So one of the school districts that I represent, the school district that I represent is Appoquinimink School District. And as affluential as, the Middletown area is, and the average median income is about $80,000, about 3 months into school last year, the email had came out district-wide saying that lunch accounts was a delinquent $10,000 already within the first 3 months of school. So this has been an initiative that other states have been doing. So that really just put some gas into my gas tank. It was like, I have to write the legislation. I have to get this done because students should be eating. And depending on where you go, if you do have a delinquent lunch account, you have to exit out of the line and get a specialty lunch. somewhere else. So
which can cause lunchroom discrimination.
Exactly.
Jokes are made.
It is
humiliation.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the bill as written right now is to cover lunch for all, no matter income, because it's not a child's fault if a parent forget to write a check or forget to clear out the account. And also, the conversation I've been carrying is the middle class is the ones who carry the economy, and sometimes, depending on what household you see, is also just one check away from having to, be evicted out of where they live or foreclosure. We are seeing inflation go up, price of food going up. We all, are feeling that burden. So, and also, how can you determine which kids you're going to feed? So that's why I'm covering it for all students.
And you brought up a point that we did this during COVID, and coming back from it, that transition back was very rough for a lot of people, and I think it's still going to be with. We keep saying we're going back, trying to get back.
We are still trying to get back.
I think this is the new normal, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of working class people, their hours are still modified. They're not getting the same pay that they were. But Senator Lockman, can you kind of explain, because I know you were right in the heat of it at the very beginning of the pandemic, that system that was put in place, and kind of what led to that?
I mean, I think to your point, like, we have a great opportunity to learn things from what went on during the pandemic and take the good with the bad that occurred. And so I think one of the things that we learned when we all kind of band together and were struggling together is realizing what a positive benefit it was to all when we just supported everyone equally, knowing that everyone had a need, everyone was feeling that uncertainty. And so, you saw school districts sending buses of lunches out into communities and all of these really fantastic programs that ended up taking precedent when we weren't able to be in the classroom. And I think something that we now are grappling with is what is worth keeping. And I think what we have found as we watch people still kind of fighting to get their balance again after the pandemic is that, like, the most important thing that we can do, particularly as a state, is provide a context for stability in our schools, and that can have a payoff of stability in our families. So what's more fundamental than making sure that a child is fed and a child can be comfortable, at least in that way, when they're in the classroom, and then do the most important thing they can be doing in that classroom, which is learning. And then I think the added benefit that we sought to achieve during the pandemic, and I think still should be maintaining that priority, is to take some of that burden off of the family. And whether that family is, way over that edge and into poverty, or that family is, struggling to stay in the middle class, or that family is just like everyone else and just sort of trying to keep all their ducks in a row, even if they're financially comfortable. It's like, if we can do this as a state and streamline and make sure every child is treated equally, on such a sort of fundamental right as eating food, what a wonderful context that will create for us to bolster our education system and just show what our values are, that we value the comfort and the well-being of all students regardless of their backgrounds, and we don't want to see kids treated differently, and we don't want to see our families struggle. And I think that was something that we did in crisis during the pandemic, that we have the opportunity to make permanent those structures, and continue to show that kind of compassion to our families. And I think there's actually like a real efficiency argument to be made for it as well, because we were talking about the delinquencies, and I think we pay something like $19 million in state funds to backfill the delinquencies that districts end up with from unpaid lunches, and who knows what happens in the meantime in terms of like the administrative burden of trying to chase those funds down and trying to fill that gap. That's a dynamic I've seen in other educational institutions on other matters. It's just like, what? If you could lift the burden from us of having to worry about where's that money coming from and how are we going to get that money, that actually then helps ease the burden on our educators and our districts. Just positive all around for us to do these things on the front end rather than trying to figure out how to backfill them on the back end.
And Senator Lockman brings up a great point. A lot of people don't understand that, by the end of every school year, the school districts have to zero out and balance out before the next fiscal year. And because they don't know what the number of the amount of the delinquency is, they have to backfill. They have to find that money somewhere out of some budget, out of somebody's, project. They got to get pulled at the last minute. To go ahead and zero it out. So by doing this, it will help school districts as well as a whole. And they can start maybe focus on quality of food. Or, which my students like, Miss Moore,
please talk about that.
Do something about this. You say you make laws. Make us better food.
If you want to have a well-attended PTA meeting where a lot of people are yelling at each other, I have had that experience many times. Talk about the quality of school lunches. People want to talk about this. They want to make sure not just that there is food, but that there's good food, lovingly made food. And I just think there's so much that we can do if we have a well-funded food program for all students.
But you were talking about the buses that came out and everything. I remember during the pandemic and even into 2021, seeing Brandywine has a converted school bus. It was real cool. Blue had animals and stuff on it. So, it was really nice to have. But also, I just want to say that this is really special because Brian Stevenson talks about the best solutions come from those who are most proximate to the issue, right? And, please forgive me for not giving more background at the beginning of the show, but for our audience, I just want to say, we are talking to both the vice chairs of the Education Committee in the House and in the Senate. Senator Lockman, you were elected in 2018. You've been down there for 5 years. Representative Moore, you were elected in 2020, right? In the pandemic. And you have been down there for 3 years now, going on 4. And already I've worked your way up to be vice chairs of your individual caucuses, Education Committee. But also, that's not, y'all are both educators and you're both mothers.
We're both the newest mothers in the legislature.
So I think, shout out to
Hi, Jack. Hi, Jackson.
So I think, this brings a very unique perspective, right? You have the legislator side, you have the educator side where you are in these classrooms, right? And see these kids and see the differences that they have when they have a proper nutrition. And then also as parents yourself, right? You want to see this for your own kids, right? Because that is one way that you make sure the system thrives. Now, you were talking about the backfilling. Does that have to go back to the state? Do they come back to the state for those funds?
They do.
And how many different school districts do we have in the state? Is it 19?
We have 19 traditional and VOTEC school districts. That's not even counting our charter schools, which are districts unto themselves. They're all, what we call local education agencies. So if you add those in, we've got almost 40 individual local education agencies throughout the state. It's a lot.
So that's almost 40 different agencies coming back to the state asking for money anyway. And this would kind of be a solution on the front end of things.
And not just the low income school districts that you might traditionally think of. I mean, I think that's, as we've been talking about this, it's been so interesting to learn all the different nuances of the problem. There are students in affluent schools who can't pay for lunch or, and we want to make sure, I think, that every student in any environment is being taken care of. And this is just the bottom line, is it's a way to make sure no one's falling through the cracks. And I think that we haven't always done a great job of putting in place policies. I think we all know that very, very well in a lot of ways, that we haven't done a great job of putting into place policies that keep students from falling through the cracks within the school system. And I think this is the type of policy that you need to start doing that, to making sure no one is falling through and failing.
Can you tell the audience a little bit more about the program that's already there and then how this will really help the whole system?
Yeah, so there's already, as some of you might know, if you have a child in school, there are free lunches available. You can apply individually to see if you qualify with your own family income for a free or reduced price lunch. And then there is federal programming. We know the food programs through the USDA. And, if a school population has over a certain percentage of poverty, that school can qualify for a community-wide free lunch. Now, the school district has to accept that status and has to then pay into that with some of their funds. And so for the most part, schools that qualify in the state of Delaware are opting into school-wide, but I think we have about 9.
Yes, we do have a few that are choosing not to opt in. So that create another barrier for whatever reasons. And we're still, exploring as we doing these talks and advocating for the bill, trying to figure out why and how this bill can help support why they choose not to help it for whatever gray area that there is.
Yeah.
Because again, when we don't do our part, who suffers at the hands? And it's their students. And we need to do everything to ensure that, scores just came out.
Yeah.
So if you want to improve, student outcome, it start with, healthy nutritional options and making sure that we're doing all that we can to at least provide the basic line for our students.
Yeah.
And you know what? This conversation is going great. I know we're not done yet, but we are going to take a quick break.
Okay.
We will be right back. Make sure y'all tune back in. Call a friend. Tell them to also turn us on and listen to this super important conversation.
Yeah.
And welcome back. I told you we were coming back with even more news about this important bill. We were talking about a universal food program for students here in Delaware, HB 125, which is being led by Representative Moore. So to pick up right where we left, so no one would schools or individuals, would they have to apply to this new program, or how would that be set up if it would be universal?
So as we continue in the conversations about the bill implementation, I'm working with stakeholders about how this will work too, because Delaware, we love local control, right? And all our school boards and our boards run differently. So just working out the technical details of it, I got to figure out how their current system works now when it comes to lunch programs, and then bringing it together to just get into the weeds of the policy to figure it out. But one thing is, we used to call them blue forms, is encouraging everybody to collect that data to be able to implement the food, to buy into the food program so we can reimburse them back.
Is this going to personally affect me? Is this going to raise my taxes? Is this program going to raise my taxes? Would either one of y'all know the answer to that?
I mean, I will start with sort of a disclaimer that we are going through a lot of changes with property reassessment. There is a court-ordered property reassessment that is currently nearing completion. So we are going to see some, I think, impacts on local taxation related to our school districts through that. But this particular program is not a locally taxed program. I think particularly some of these questions that we're looking at in terms of supporting school districts in accepting their community status is really about applying state funds to that. And so that would actually probably have a benefit to that local bottom line.
Yes. I piggyback on what Senator Lockman says. This is no cost to taxpayers. It's not going to increase their taxes. As bill sponsors, one of our job is through making sure that this move forward is finding the money within our state budget to fill this. This is a $30 million fiscal note. Yes, that sounds like a lot of money, but it's for a good cause. It's for feeding our students and making sure that we get in the positive outcomes that we're looking for. One thing that you have seen over the last couple of years is we're mandating curriculums. So if we could make students work harder, we can feed them. One thing I could tell you, you don't get good quality work out of hungry kids. So this is, I feel like, this is a gain. The outcomes surely outweighs what the cost is.
And I would remind folks that, every family with a child in school would see a benefit on their budget of not, going out and making the lunch or paying for the lunch. You would definitely see that positive impact. And obviously that's just family with children in our public schools, but that's a real impact.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. And, I grew up on peanut butter and jelly and applesauce, going to lunch, packing it every morning. Me and my mom, right?
But to that point, studies have shown that healthy meals lead to an increase of attendance rates, reduced behavior levels, and better academic outcome, which again, ultimately save taxpayers money because now, you know, we don't have to do summer schools as much, and we don't have to do all the community investments that we continue to do by providing the basic nutritional needs of kids.
And, you know, I just also want to bring up the fact is sometimes the only meal that these students get are these meals that they are getting at school. So we have an opportunity to give them even better selection of food, different food types, but then also free of cost to them. That is going to be huge for parents. And I'm glad to hear about the taxes as well, too. And this isn't Senator Lockman or Senator Ray talking. This is Coby talking. I think the governor just highlighted the other day that we have nearly $1 billion surplus, right? So it's so good.
Well, Mr. Governor, I'm coming to you.
Well, no, I'm saying it's good to have a surplus. He worked very hard over the last 6 years to get to this point. And I think you want to get to this point financially so that you can invest in new programs. But those programs should be of great impact. And I can't think of a program that would be better than making sure our kids have the proper resources and tools, which means a nice meal, so that they can learn and absorb as much education. Because it's one thing, you know, on this show, I talk about civil rights all the time. It's one thing that no one can ever take away from you. They could take your job, they could take your house, they could take your car, they could not take your education.
I love that you said that. We talk so much about like the cost on a bill, the fiscal note on a bill, and we oftentimes do not spend enough time talking about all of the many benefits that we are going to get to enjoy as a society as a result of that investment. And that's real, and that's really important for us to prioritize.
And also, honestly, I would pitch this as long-term investment into the state, right?
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
If you have kids who are getting a better education, down they're retaining that information, that hopefully transitions to more kids going to college, more kids going to trade school, creating a better workforce here, attract more jobs here, more big businesses here, which brings in more revenue, which means people want to buy their houses here, which creates just, again, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's a long-term investment to try to get to that point.
There's those long-term benefits, and then there's the short-term ones of a family that maybe doesn't end up losing housing because they can actually pay rent.
But look at it with the nucleus of all of that determined. The nucleus was education and what we decided to invest in our education system. And how do you make your internal investment on the future? Investing in this.
Yes. So again, you know, there's always going to be critics, regardless of what the bill is. If the bill was saying,
who doesn't want to feed kids?
We're not going to have any more rainy days, someone would still say, what? I would want, you know, one storm a year. No. But for the people who may say that the students may waste this food, or they may not be grateful to receive the food through this program, what would you say to those people?
Well, I mean, I would say to those, many of whom I'm sure are themselves parents, I think about what is your experience interacting with your own children like? Are your children always appreciative of everything that you do for them? You know, our job is to raise them to be respectful and appreciative and all those things, and it's not going to happen every single day with every single child. You don't stop feeding them because of that.
I know that I provide a snack in my classroom. How that goes over with my students, regardless of they have a snack or not. But I know when I had to stop giving out snacks, what the end result of that was. I could tell you it wasn't as positive as allowing them to be able to eat. So again, how do you decide what kids get to eat and which ones doesn't? You do what Senator Lockman just said. We still need to do it.
So I know the conversation is just getting started on this bill. I believe it hasn't even had a committee hearing yet, correct?
No, I just filed and introduced it. And at this point where we are with the bill, I am doing some advocacy work around it. So I've had a press conference in my home district at Appoquinimig School District. We have one coming up on October 3rd
in the 3rd Senatorial District. Bayard School.
With the home of the Bulldogs, where I did my groundwork as first years of teaching. That's always my home. But we're just having conversations and trying to build advocacy around it.
And October 3rd is the opportunity if you're a parent, grandparent, educator, student yourself.
Please
learn more about it, want to give input on this, you're going to be there listening and breaking down the bill. Both of you will be
We'll
there.
both be there. It's a couple blocks from my house, so please come. Let's talk about it.
We're going to have some individuals from the PTA to talk about it. We will be sitting down with Superintendent Dr. Daniel Shelton of Christina School District, who actually this past school year, we just found out, we're still covering breakfast and lunch for students. So we will just talk with him so he can lean on from a leadership perspective about the benefits of doing this and carrying it out. So I'm looking to continue these conversations throughout the state. So Sussex County and Kent County, if you're listening, I'm coming to you. Please show up and support.
We have a lot of work to do.
Yes,
we have a lot of work to do.
It is an uphill battle.
And like I say with any bill, when we talked about rent escrow, when we talked about the right to representation, when we talked about all the different bills on this show, what may be filed on day one may not be the exact word for word what it looks like on the day it's signed by the governor or the day it passes one of the chambers. But in order to make Delaware the 10th state, just to highlight, California and Maine were the first two states. And then it was followed by Colorado, Minnesota, New Mexico, Vermont, Michigan, and Massachusetts. So in order for us to be the 10th state, it's going to take us, the viewers here, making sure you're getting engaged, making sure you're calling your representatives and your senators, asking them where they stand on this bill, what concerns they may have, where you stand on this bill, and why you think this bill is so needed. But then also making sure,
call anyone you can, everyone.
But also making sure you're coming out and engaging. Is October 3rd, is that going to be live streamed at all? Or
yes,
is it a virtual
will.
Option?
We'll make sure that it's being live streamed for individuals to see, even if it's just a couple clips as well. So we just build in awareness behind the importance of food nutrition for our students and advocacy for the bill. I'm looking forward to it. I'm
looking forward to it too. I'm super excited. It's actually the day before I go on vacation for a week. I'll be heading out St. Louis, so this will be the last thing I'll be doing here in Delaware. Nice. So I'm super excited for this conversation, to hear more from the community as well too. As this goes through the process, for all our viewers at home, we're definitely going to keep you updated step by step on this process. Of course, both of you are more than welcome to come back and talk about it through the process, or once it's done, or once it's signed, wherever we are, y'all feel like y'all want to come back, y'all can. But Senator Lockman, do you have anything in closing?
I mean, I just want to express my gratitude to Representative Moore for her leadership on this and for allowing me to be the Senate Prime. It's a fantastic piece of legislation, and I think a wonderful goal for us as a state, and it's going to be a really exciting journey. The feedback we've gotten already has been tremendous, and so I just hope more people get on board and help us to support her and this vision, and let's feed our kids and get our kids educated.
I would say, last thing I have to say, as a society, we want to invest in our students and our children's future, and this is the start of it. Feeding, making sure that we're providing them the fuel to succeed.
Thank you both so much for joining us here today on The Source. Y'all brought a wealth of knowledge to us. They had their breakfast today. Your students deserve that too. But how can they follow you if they don't know your at?
My at is More for DE on Instagram, and on Facebook it is Rep Sharia Moore. Well, Sharia Ray Moore, because I like to be called Rep.
And on Instagram, although I'm not like super prolific on there, is just Tizzy Lockman. It's Tizzy Lockman. And then if you just put Tizzy in on Facebook, Tizzy, you'll see all my various profiles, personal, political. Just join them all. And we'll continue the conversation.
And one of the things I love about Delaware is we are so small still, even though we should be getting a second congressional district. We'll follow up on that on another show. See you in a few years. Then we'll be talking about redistricting again. We have access to our representatives, to our senators, from our federal level, right? You can go to Wawa and see Senator Carper, all the way down to our school board members. So please take advantage of that. I know that these two here with me, at least, are very, very responsive.
I tell my constituents, call me, beat me if you want to reach me.
There we go. What's that? Kim Possible?
Kim Possible.
Yes.
Oh,
I remember.
We are a different generation.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But yeah, so again, they're super easy to access and reach out to. So please take advantage of that. And again, especially if you live in the Middletown area or if you live over West Side of Wilmington, I think. Do you have?
I've most of the East Side too, and a little bit of Newport.
Yeah.
We're all over the place.
These are your representatives, your senator. And if you have any additional questions, you also know how to get in touch with me, and I'll help make sure we get you in touch with the right people. Again, thank you so much. Thank you for watching this show today. My name is Coby Owens.
I'm Tizzy Lockman.
I'm Ray Moore.
Take care, y'all.
Bye.